in 1959, 1952, Colonel Batista had assumed power again as a non-elected official. We had had elections in 1940, 1944, 1948, and then the elections of 1952 were canceled by Batista's coup d'etat. So first, we had a military dictatorship ruling Cuba. Secondly, there was an accumulation of problems. One big problem was inequalities, poverty, racial discrimination, corruption, which was big, especially after the mafia got into Cuba. So the country was a mess and needed change. Change that almost everyone agreed that had to start first with agrarian reform, a land reform program, that had to be some cleaning up of the government, elimination of corruption, elimination of some of the worst part of the system, which was lack of public health, lack of real education. So there were a number of issues that really had to be solved. And one perspective was that, and one perspective that was very common at the time, because it had proven seriously, is that every time that Cuba had started changing things, the United States had intervened and stopped change. It's obviously that the regime that existed in Cuba from 1902 till 1959 was a regime that was controlled by Washington through their embassy in Havana and through their agents in Cuba, one of them, of course, Fulgencio Batista, the dictatorship. So the overthrow of the dictatorship entailed, for all intents and purposes, a fundamental change, economic, social, political, and the revolution began to change those things. It has to be taken into account that the first year of the revolution, there was the land reform, health reform. Second year, there was the educational reform, urban reform. So a number of reforms were put in place. But one of the most important things was the elimination of corruption and the expulsion of the mafia from Cuba.